This is the new Zillion SVTW. When they first released the videos on YouTube on how the system works and things like that, I was already kind of like, huh, I could see a big use for all the features. So, what?
Look at that fish over there, I think.
Yo, Panodo, man, go! What's he got? As I was saying, sorry, we had to go fishing there. As I was saying, this is the Zillion SV. Went to the Classic just to see it. It was launched at the Classic. First time seeing it, I was like, damn, I just gotta get it. And after Kurt explained it all to us, I just had to get it. So came home, waited for a good price. Tackle Warehouse had a good sale on it, and it was a flash sale, by the way. And I picked it up straight from Tackle Warehouse, $255 shipped, and I couldn't be happier. Been fishing it all the time. I've had it since April, so 3-4 months now. I would consider this like the ultimate shallow water like bait caster reel right now, because you can skip very well with it. It casts light stuff real well, Sinkos. I'm talking Sinkos, flukes, and all that kind of category. And even this too. I mean, this is a half ounce, but it does all that very well. It does crankbaits very well. The only thing I wouldn't want to do is to do some heavy flipping, like 1 ounce and higher than that. But other than that, we'll tabletop this for you in a bit. But I just want to give you my initial impressions while I'm still on the lake, and it is just awesome. Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while since we did a reel review, and we're gonna get to one, actually a couple here in the upcoming videos. This is one of the ones that I really liked, and I actually ended up saving a little bit of my income tax money just to get it, because it is one of those reels that is it's a little out of the price range for a majority of the people. And I'm not trying to convince you to get it. I'm just going to tell you what's good about it, what I like, what I don't like about it. I have no association with this company, but I like their products, and when I like products, I like to talk about them. I talk a lot about them. So I have 2 reels coming up. We have the Zillion, which is I'm about to review right now, and we have another one, so for another video. But this is one of those reels where I heard about it. I had to see it before I bought it. I went to the Backslash Classic 2016, and I talked with, I think it was their marketing director. I think his name was Kurt. As you can see, it's a shallower his last name, but the first name was Kurt. Ran me through it. I had a feel for it. There was a bunch of them on display. And the moment I picked it up, I was like, yeah, definitely get this reel. It feels good. It feels right in front of my hands. And I'm used to all the features it comes with, but this is a new one that is available on this reel that pushed me over the fence, basically. And I'll show you what that is in a bit, but for now, let's just kind of go over some of the features and how I've been using this reel. This is the 2016 Zillion SVTW. It says it right there. You guys can see it or not, but it says it right there. And it's got the TW, but it's a TWS system. And what that means is, for the guys that don't know, most of your bait casters on the level line, there's basically a circle or a dot that feeds a line back and forth. So it feeds it back and forth, and as you cast, it comes out the same size hole. What Daiwa has done is it's quite, I think it's almost like the next step towards doing this, is they've come up with this system. Kind of does that. So when you're casting, this opens up. When you're cranking it back, it closes back up. So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds. First available on the Daiwa T3 model, then went to the Tatula, and then transitioned to the Zillion line. And that's one of the reasons why I got it. Not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons. And I'm a big fan of the TWS system. I'm not gonna lie. Some people say that it doesn't matter. To me, it does. I've noticed a difference in it, and I'm not brand specific. I run Daiwas, Shimano's, and Lew's, and a couple other brands, but it always kind of comes back to the Daiwas. I think the Daiwa company by itself is very. I think their engineering team's just better than everybody else's, in my opinion. Seems like they come up with the more like just the more cutting edge type stuff, and that's some of the stuff that we were talking to Kurt about too when we were doing the booth review at the classic with him. Anyhow, I digress. It comes with this color. It's actually a really nice color. It's almost the same color from the last Zillion TWS that we also have, and I do like that the gold TWS thing here. That's pretty cool. The Zillion Ultimate Drag Star right here. It feels good, and it doesn't really do anything because it's just a drag star. You set it maybe once or twice per fishing trip. You kind of leave it. The handle is your standard Daiwa handle. It comes pretty much standard, at least from what I've seen. If I'm not mistaken, it looks just like all the other handles. It's on the Tatula. Same knobs. Well, actually, knobs are a little different, but at least it feels the same to me. I'm not too into them. The little minor stuff, but one big positive is the clicking spool tension knob. That's kind of an upgrade from the Tatula for another $100. But the major thing is the main thing is the spool. For the guys that don't understand, or this is a kind of the deal maker for me, because I wasn't even looking at this line of reels until I saw this. So let me take this apart for you guys and let me explain what this is, the SV system, and why it's so great in my opinion. It's still got the MagForce Z on the side plate. Nothing groundbreaking on that end. Like I said, this reel is basically the only the groundbreaking feature that is incorporated is this spool. The spool is a shallow spool. I have 18-pound fluorocarbon on it right now, and only have maybe 50 yards, if that. So this is one of those spools that you will be changing out line a lot on, which is fine with me. I mean, this is not a reel that's designed to be throwing deep dive crankbaits or top waters really far. It's in my opinion, it's a 30-yard or less reel. Okay, and they do a real good job at it. If you look at that and put that into perspective, because if you look at your squarebills, if you look at your spinnerbaits, you look at all this target fishing stuff, like your boat's pretty close, or your kayak, or if you're a bank fisherman, you're definitely close to targets. This is really good for you, and that's why a shallow spool is ideal, but for all the guys that want to get to that next level where they have to get a lure or bait into a tight spot, and what I'm meaning by that is you have to skip it. You have to skip your lures under docks, overhanging trees and little holes and things like that. That's where this SV comes into play, and this is something that nobody else, no other company can claim, because every single spool to date, as far as I know, the magnet is connected directly to something on the spool shaft, and that is connected directly to the spool. So this puts resistance on this, and this puts resistance on the spool. And this is true for Daiwa's, pre-SV spool. And what they've done now is they got this spool that pops out, but it can rotate. I don't know if you guys see that, but put it this way. It pops out, it can pop out, and it rotates. It rotates almost, let me see. it's not quite 45. It's more like 30 degrees. So it can go 30 degrees in either direction. Okay, and you're thinking, okay, well, why do you have a loose part on a spool? When I first looked at it, I didn't really understand why. But just understand that I come from kind of a mechanical background too. So you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you use it and then you start thinking about why that is important in terms of backlashes, that's when it will make sense. The SV system allows you to cast, and when your thumb comes off the spool, I think that's the most critical time when this brake needs to be acting at its best, because that's when your rod is unloading and your lure is either picking up momentum or attempting to drag the line out. And there's a lot of whiplash going back and forth between the lure and the spool, and the rod has a lot to do with it. So a lot of times you'll see this as your spool is going out, as your lines rolling off the spool. A lot of times you'll see the spool trying to catch up to the line, and you'll see almost like a backlash almost starting to happen as, say, a couple rounds of lines pop out, and then this system catches up and it goes whoosh, and it comes right back. That's you're right at the breaking point of backlashing or not backlashing. Now, not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying that can be a problem if you don't get a consistent cast every time, or when you're going from a max cast to a slow skip or something like that. That's when this system really shines, okay? And this system can handle, seems like a max cast and a little skip cast without changing these brakes, the intensity of the brakes, or the magnetic system. What it does is you don't get a lot of that lure going, and then you see like 2 or 3 rounds of lines popping out, and then it quickly comes back, or it pops out and then it backlashes. You don't really get that, because this is it acts like a dampener. So when you first let go of the thumb, this spool spins with the lure, but this isn't spinning yet. There's like a split second where it has to. I can't really explain exactly how it works, but it has to rotate a little bit and then it goes. And when it goes, this has to catch up. And when it catches up to the spool, it in turns, in a way, it cleans up the slack. That's what it does. It cleans up the slack between the spool and your lure. And that's not probably the best example to put on the road. But say that was a Senko or something like that, right? You know how when you're skipping it across the water, you have to raise your rod. At least most people do it like that. As you skip, you raise your rod to take up the slack, or to compensate for the slack in the line, so you don't get a backlash. Well, with this, you don't have to, because the spool does that for you. And if you raise your rod too, you'll never get a backlash. But I'm not much of a skipper, and when I do skip, I skip one of these guys. A Huddleston swim bait of some sorts, because I think nobody skips it, so that's why I skip them. But that's the beauty of the SV spool. And like I said, it's a shallow spool, and the other thing is a free-floating spool. That's the other thing that a lot of companies don't do, that I mainly see from Daiwa. A lot of times you'll have a spool, and then you'll have the shaft extend out to about there. That's kind of where it goes into the spool, the hole, and then it comes out to about there. Well, what they've done is they've lightened that by cutting that off. They put a bearing on each side. Well, there's the other bearing. And what it does is it allows for the spool to spool up much faster. And since it's a lot lighter, it can also slow down much faster. So that's kind of the key. You want the spool to spool up fast when you release. At the same time, you want to be effective at slowing this thing down if it needs to. So that's why you have a shallow spool and you have the SV system. And also the TWS, TW, whatever you want to call it. I call it TWS all the time. This also helps out. So it's like the whole system has to come together to make for this event. of line control from the reel come together. And if you have one or the other, I don't think it would be as good. But I'm just saying, I've been playing it with the system for the last 4 months, 5 months. I'm pretty happy. I really don't even skip lures ever before getting this thing. And now I feel pretty comfortable doing it on a daily basis. I mean, I've tried skipping. I've skipped spinner baits. I've skipped crankbaits. I've skipped just about everything except for a chatterbait. I haven't skipped a chatterbait yet. Skip jigs, skip things like that, and it works great. Highly recommended it. And like I said, this is a reel that's a little above the normal price point. Normal price point for me would be $200. Okay, so that's kind of just to give you guys an idea. It'd be a $200 reel. That's kind of a price point for a lot of people who are looking at this reel, maybe because they fish tournaments, and that's maybe what this reel's geared at, is those specialty setups. Like I said, like, you know, your jig setup, your Cinco setup, things like that. And also, yeah, I skip Cincos on 16-pound line. I don't do the spinning deal. You can, but in my opinion, it's like if you're skipping something into the nastiest things that you can skip into, you need some dragging power to pull that fish out when you hook them. And on an 18-pound line, it's no joke. On a good rod with a good backbone on it, you can drag good sized fish out of the cover. Or if you're on a spinning rod, you might not be able to do it as easy. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the review on it. I'm really happy with it. I paid $260 straight from your online tackle warehouse. They had a pretty good sale on it. I got it. Couldn't be happier, really. But there are some drawbacks on it that I think they cut short, because for a $300 reel, I really don't understand why they give you a Zillion star drag, but then it looks like it's just a cheap piece of plastic here. Right here. I don't know why they give you that. Everything else looks pretty top notch, but that's pretty cheap. I think the handle itself is pretty cheap. I mean, for $300, I'm expecting to see a carbon fiber handle. That's just me, man. Carbon fiber handle. 90 millimeters is good. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, this is a 7:3-1, which is the perfect gear ratio for this reel. I like 7.3s. I think the 8 is a little too fast for like an all-around skipping type of reel, but 7.3 is good. But anyhow, handle. See that? That needs bearings. That needs bearings. So like I said, the handle I'm a little disappointed on. Everything else really looks good. I have no problems with anything else. Like I said, I've thrown it on a lot of things. I've thrown this on 10 pound, 12 pound, 14, 18, 20. It does really good. Just keep in mind that, like I said in the beginning of the video, excuse me, this is not a long range reel. This is a short target casting reel, and that's where it's going to shine. If you're doing anything where you're trying to bomb something really far out, it's just not the reel for it. Because I've tried that before. I've had it on I think it was 12 pound. I was throwing a deep diving crankbait, like a 6XD, and I unspool it. And if you get a bite on the end of that cast, I don't know, there's a lot of stripers in my area too. They might unspool you. So that's not what it's designed for. At least that's my take on it. Anything short, squarebills. I love this on squarebills. Little John from Spro, it's great on. I throw a lot of swim bait type stuff like this. You know, you like fishing like bluff walls and stuff. That's great. You can even skip that too if you want. That works really good. It's got enough power to crank chatterbaits, things like that, through grass. I mean, it's like the perfect all around short range reel. And a lot of people would actually, kind of the flip side of everything is, I mentioned before, this might be kind of the specialty reel for the tournament angler. And it is, for the most part, they're probably going to buy something that's a lot less. But at the same time, you flip that around to the maybe the not so talked about crowd is a first time buyer. You know, I would really recommend this reel to the first time buyer. And everyone's gonna be like, "What? $300? What, you crazy?" In a way, I am. But in a way, it's like, man, I remember when I first learned how to throw a bait cast reel. It was a pain in the ass. You'd backlash, and you're not even throwing it. You're just trying to flip it or pitch it, and you're still getting backlashes. But this really it helps prevent all that stuff. It makes your transition into the bait casting reel world a lot smoother because of it, and then you can go back and buy the $200 reels if you want. Once you're comfortable with your settings on the reels, and once your thumb is seasoned and it has a mind of its own, I think that's when your $200 reels will shine. But as a starter reel, I mean, if you had one of these and you have a friend who is wanting to learn it, that's a great reel to borrow for him for a week. Then he might just buy it off you, but it's a great reel from that point of view as well. And I really like it for that because you're not gonna spool them up with 200 yards of line. You're gonna give them like 25 yards, and that's exactly in the ballpark of this thing. And it works really, really well. I really enjoyed it for the last 4 months. So leave me some comments if you guys want to know anything more specific about it. I might be able to answer it for you. But overall, I mean, the looks of this thing, it looks mean as heck. It looks good. All the accents are good. Durability is good. I haven't even cleaned it yet. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. That's how I kind of want to bring it to the table here. It's already got battle scars on it. It's like my favorite thing to skip. And so I should just show you guys that it's not rigged. It does fall pretty fast. The setting is on, I'm going to crank it to 14. It's a 0 to 20 setting on the magnetic brakes. And I didn't even thumb it. And it skipped 3 times. That's what the SV Spool can do for you. That's something that no other manufacturer can claim, and no other manufacturer can match as of 2016 July. So, see? Nada. But it is still possible to backlash it. If you have it set real loose, or if you have it set on 0, it acts just like a regular reel. I don't know if you caught all that though. That's an ugly ass one. That's it. That's the stuff that you could do with this reel that other reels you can't. Like that skip cast on a regular reel you'd be screwed. But on this one it's good. There you go. A couple good ones. I'm not a good skipper, so like I've never skipped before I bought this reel. See, that's the ugly shit. That looks good. You get pretty careless. And I usually, the other thing is, okay, people might even ask you, is it backlashable? Oh yeah, it's backlashable. I've backlashed it twice. But the thing is, when you backlash this, say you're skipping it, or you just carelessly, I don't know, side hand roll it, and you hit the deck of your boat or something, a lot of times that's a day inner, that's the end of the day for that reel. But on this one, it's not. When you do that, you just crank it down a couple times, and then attempt to pull the line out. And 9 out of 10 times of your worst backlashes you will ever have, you still have a really good shot at pulling it out. And there's only been one incident on this reel where I've actually just given up, and I decided not to bring it, not to work on it on the water anymore and bring it back home. But if that was on any other reel, like this one, the regular CT, you're done. Well, this one, it's like it's very forgiving. That's the thing about the SV system. It's very forgiving for when you're not paying 100% attention to what you're doing, and you hit something by accident, or you skip trying to skip under a tree branch and you actually hit the tree branch, you know what I mean? Those type of situations, and it does really, really well on that. So that's my kind of rundown on the 2016 model, the Zillions SVTW in the 7:3 gear ratio. Once again, Connery talking about this on Out of Work, Out of Work.